And with episode 120 of Yu-Gi-Oh! VRAINS, that is the finale and the end of the Yu-Gi-Oh! VRAINS series. Or is it? We're not too sure, depending on what the ending of this series meant, but we'll talk all about that in a second. Let's talk about this episode, and then a bit later on we'll talk about the overall impressions I had with Yu-Gi-Oh! VRAINS as a Yu-Gi-Oh! series. But let's start with the episode, shall we? So we ended on a big cliffhanger in the last episode of Yu-Gi-Oh! VRAINS, where I basically says that one of us has to lose this duel. If you win, I get deleted and the world carries on. If I win, I still get deleted because my memory gets shared between all the AIs, but I'm giving the AIs a chance to exist. I guess there is a little bit of a compromise we can do here. Why don't we merge my data with your consciousness, turn your consciousness into data, smash them together, we'll become a new entity and we can live. Now he says in this one he's going to live forever in Yu-Gi-Oh! VRAINS, watching over the VRAINS world and everything. However, in the last one, the benefits of this merging was that he would have a limited human lifespan, which was the problem. So I got a bit confused with that one. I thought the whole point was so he could have a lifespan, but the collective knowledge of a human and an AI put together so they'd be able to sort things out. But it doesn't really matter because Yusaku says no, which I was a little bit sad about because I would like to have seen this as... I would like to have seen them merged together to have like a new entity. Yusaku looks a bit different. His personality, as some people said in the comments of the last episode, Yusaku, when he experienced the lost incident, a part of his personality was taken away from him. And it was his sort of humorous side, it was his ability to make friends and to create bonds. If he were to reunite with Ai, that would be the missing part of him coming back together. So he would be a complete person. However, my argument to that was that he has sort of attained these things throughout the series. He's made some jokes. We have also seen him create many bonds throughout the series with other people. He was quite cold and distant at the very start. However, throughout the series, it's a strange thing because this will come more as my overall thoughts of the Yu-Gi-Oh! VRAINS series. He has created these bonds, but these bonds aren't really bonds that he's gone out and sought and acquired because he feels like he needs to have them. These are people that have come to him because of the plot, really. It's all part of the situation. Like, Ghost Girl talked to him because she needed this done. Zaizen talked to him because he needed this done. I don't know, I guess that's how he's made friends. So that should be fine. But I guess he's took the time to make friends with Kusanagi, with Soul Burner outside of the VRAINS series, and I guess with Aoi to a degree. So I think that's fine. I think Yusaku definitely has created bonds because it turns out that that is the biggest theme of this series. This is what it's all been about. What humanity is, what it means to live, according to Yu-Gi-Oh! VRAINS, is your bonds. The bonds you create between people, and even if you disappear from the world, as long as you have these bonds, you will still continue to exist. So that was the moral of the entire Yu-Gi-Oh! VRAINS series. I don't think it was as clear throughout, if that was from the very beginning, but regardless, it's a nice little end, I guess, to have that, because it's a nice message. However, when Ai says they should merge together, Yusaku says no. And the reason he says no is because if we fuse together, I won't be me anymore and you won't be you. We'll be something completely different. As soon as he said that, I kind of like looked. I like to imagine that like Jaden is standing right here with Yubel merged with it. I'm just like, ooh. But based on what Yusaku said in this episode, I actually kind of agree because Yubel and Jaden's fusion together wasn't a proper fusion, really, was it? It was the spirit of Yubel going inside of Jaden. I never really thought their personalities got mixed together at all. It's not like in Dragon Ball Z when they fuse together, they become a completely new person. That's not what happened with the super polymerization, which really should have happened. And in this one, if it would have been Ai inside of Yusaku again, that would have been bad. But if the two personalities would have come together and there would have been a new person, then that would have been different. It would have been interesting. But yeah, I guess this is a different route. This is subverting expectations. I expected them to merge together and they didn't. So I'd like to know what you all guys thought in the comment section below. I thought its rationale was okay. The fact that they wouldn't be them anymore. It's quite a big deal. I guess you don't want to get mushed together. You don't even know if you would still be yourself afterwards. So yeah, it's quite a deep thing to talk about. If you mash two people together, are they still them? But that's a bit beyond the Yu-Gi-Oh! VRAINS review, I think. Anyway, we go into the duel after this. Yusaku has no cards in the field, no cards in the hand, but he's got so many cards that activate the graveyard. I don't know why he even says this. He does a Destiny draw. He managed to use a card in the graveyard to special summon 2 tokens. The card he drew was, what was it called? Drastic Draw. Banish 2 monsters on your side of the field, and you can draw 3 new cards. But as soon as he activated this card, I was just like, Bro, did you look at the artwork of the card you just activated? It had a picture of Playmaker on the card. I know there's some cards in the real world card game that have got pictures like Yugioh and Joey on and stuff, and you can see hints of other people, like in Destiny Draw, that's got Astro Phoenix on. And I can't remember if that happened in the series as well, but I always find that weird when characters have cards that look like them. But this one looked exactly like Yusaku, so I just thought that was a bit weird. If we want to explain it in the rationale of the universe, maybe Playmaker's become such a big celebrity, they made a Yu-Gi-Oh card after him. Maybe it's that, but yeah, he does his Destiny Draw or Drastic Draw, if you will, and he manages to get out a really awesome play because I still got out his Arrival with like 14,000 attack, 13,000 attack on the field, and then I summons a monster so he can only link summon once. So what Yusaku does is he gets all these monsters onto the field, he gets all these like base Cyburst monsters like Cyburst Secretary, Link Slayer, things like that. Then he's able to summon out his Link 5 Dark Fluid from the graveyard. And then he Link summons using all these monsters. A little part of me thought he was going to get out like a Link 7 or something, because he had the Link 5, Link 6, whatever it was, Dark Fluid, and then the 3 other monsters. I thought it was going to be like a huge monster. But instead he gets out a Link 4, which was his Link 4 access code Talker, which looked really cool. I saw a few people complain how he never got out Firewall Dragon because that is technically meant to be his ace monster. I guess, I don't know, it's weird because Dark Fluid has become his new big boss ace, like his Divine Neos kind of thing, whereas Decode is like his Dark Magician, I guess. I don't know, it's a weird thing. I saw someone in the comments of somewhere saying that Dark Fluid is just like the evolved form of Firewall. He's lost Firewall from his deck because Dark Fluid is the evolution of it now. So I guess that would kind of explain why he doesn't use the monster anymore. But no, he gets out his access code Talker, and I wrote down its effects because it was kind of cool. So it's a Link 4, it's got 2300 attack, it gains 1000 attack for each Link marker used for its summon. It had 5 Link markers because of Link Dark Fluid, so it had 5000 plus 2300, so 7300 attack. The Arrival had 13,000 attack, so he had to use his other ability, which was he could banish a Link monster in his graveyard, and he would be able to destroy a card on the field, but he had to use different attributes, and then he could use them over and over again. And as we all know, there's 6 attributes, not including Divine, so he was able to just destroy each card, and he was able to whittle down the monster's attack, and then he went to attack, but I used a card that reduced both the monsters down to 3,000. They destroyed each other, which I thought was really good. This gave me Clash in the Colosseum kind of vibes when Yugi did Kaiba, because they did the whole thing where they play their duel, they do sort of their normal stuff, then they get their Egyptian gods out, the Egyptian gods fight, then they're destroyed, and then they go back to their ace monsters, the Blue Eyes versus Dark Magician, and then they get sort of their evolved forms, Blue Eyes Ultimate Dragon, and then Dark Paladin to finish it all off. I really like the way that duel was structured, because you get the big bosses out in the middle, and then you sort of go to the signature cards later on. This was kind of that in this one. We had these big boss monsters out, then they were gone, and then we got out the old school Decode Talker versus the Dark Templar, which I really like that. I thought it was really good. And as you know, Dark Templar is the antithesis basically to Decode Talker. Decode Talker's got 2300 attack. If it boosts its attack, it's going to get destroyed by its effect. So, for all intents and purposes, Yusaku was going to lose this duel. It's I's turn after this. I goes to attack Decode Talker, which would destroy it, and he'd be able to win after this. However, I activates a spell card that basically, because he activated that spell card, as a result, Yusaku was able to win after this, and Yusaku wins the duel and defeats I. And it's a bit up in the air whether I did this on purpose so that Yusaku could win, but I'm going to argue the fact that I did this because he was unsure what play Yusaku was going to go to. Because there's a really nice moment, I thought it was a really good quote of the episode, where Yusaku asks, "Did you run a simulation of our duel?" And I says, "No, that would be boring. No, that would be lame." And I thought that was really good. He wants a proper fight. If he ran a simulation of all the different outcomes, he would have already experienced it, so that would have been really boring. So I really like that quote. And the fact that he didn't play out all the scenarios of what would happen if he activated this quick play spell card. It was just, Yusaku's a tricky guy to duel against. Maybe he'll have a plot, a plan. Why would he get out this Decode Talker, knowing that my Templar could destroy this monster? So I thought it was justified. I think Yusaku legit won, and he is the first Yu-Gi-Oh protagonist to have never lost a single duel throughout the entire Yu-Gi-Oh series. That also goes to Yusei Fudo as well, I think. However, he should have lost against Callan Kessler, I guess, even though he fell off his bike. He did lose to Jack in a flashback, so it's all up in the air. But regardless, Yusaku is undefeated throughout this entire series. Holy hell. The duel then ends just before the final attack with a little flashback montage of all the greatest moments throughout Ai and Yusaku's history. And just as Ai is about to be destroyed, he says to Yusaku, was I a good partner? And Yusaku says, yes, you were the very best. So it was a really nice ending to the character. Ai disappears, he releases everyone. He even says he's scared at one point, or he's a little bit frightened because he knows he's going to disappear, which was quite sad. But it wasn't so much Ai disappearing with the data, it was more when Yusaku came back to the real world and there's just this husk of the android version of him, and it just doesn't say anything, doesn't move, and just falls over. That was quite sad. It's revealed as well, one of the biggest reasons why I didn't want to exist in this world is because out of all the possible futures that he saw, out of the thousands of different ones, nearly every single one had Playmaker Yusaku standing in front of him, sacrificing himself trying to save his friend, and he did not want that future to happen, which, again, was a very nice moment. And I think Ai is going to go down as one of the best Yu-Gi-Oh villains overall, because he had really good motivation, he was a really good character, he had a good connection with the main character as well. The only problem with it was that he wasn't shown enough, I guess. He didn't have enough time to truly develop, because he did go a little bit evil too quickly. Not necessarily evil, but he did go against humanity a bit too quickly, and that needed to be fleshed out just a little bit more. But I think Ai, to me personally, is an absolutely fantastic villain. Really good. Oh, and I forgot as well, he says I love you to Yusaku at the very end, which is just a... How do you do this now? It's like... It's a heartbreaking thing. After this, we get a 3 months later. We see what everybody is doing. We see that Kusanagi's brother is doing well. He's now working with Kusanagi at the hot dog stand. And he talks for, I think, the first time in the Yu-Gi-Oh series. So, well done. Aoi seems to be doing okay as well. I forgot what her arc of the series was meant to be. Was it confidence in herself or something? If that was it, then she's definitely got it. I guess she's out doing stuff by herself. Zaizen is now CEO of Soul Technologies, so good for him. Ghost Girl and Blood Shepherd are off doing their own things, being good siblings, which I'm happy for them. Gohan Izuku is back being an entertainer and winning. He was probably my least favourite character throughout this series just because the journey went on. I don't feel like he learnt anything, so we'll talk about that a bit later. The Knights of Hanoi are all watching over VRAINS, making sure that no more shenanigans going on there, and it's their sort of redemption for the things they did throughout the series, so... Okay. We see Soulburner, he's gone back home. He takes his waifu to the VRAINS world and starts, like, skating around with her. So, fair play to Soulburner. He's got the best end at the moment, man. He's got a girlfriend, nice. And then at the very end, we see Revolver getting asked, do you think Yusaku will come back? Because he's been missing all this time. And he says that, yes, I know he will come back. And it cuts to Yusaku inside of the VRAINS world still. And he's surfing around looking for someone. And then we cut to the very end and we see the eye of Ai. And it opens and looks out. So it implies that he's still alive somewhere. There's some bit of data of him existing within the Yu-Gi-Oh! VRAINS world. And that's how the series ends. I wish it didn't end there. I kind of wish it ended just before this, saying that, oh, Yusaku's out looking for something. He's looking for... I don't know what he's up to. He's off doing something. I kind of wish it ended there without that little hint at the end. I don't think it was needed, but I guess optimistic ending. And I've seen a few people say that because of this ending, it means that the 2020 Yu-Gi-Oh! Series that is teased as well in this episode is going to be a continuation of this series about Ai looking for that. I don't think that's the case at all. I don't think this series will be continued in 2020. I just think it's an optimistic, hopeful ending for this series, and that's all I think it is. So if you think this is going to be a continuation in the next Yu-Gi-Oh! Series, I don't think that's going to be true. So I'm just letting you all know right now, but if I turn out to be wrong, then fair enough. I just can't see him taking the story anywhere else. But regardless, yeah, that was the Yu-Gi-Oh! VRAINS series. Overall, I enjoyed it a lot, and I'm going to talk about what I thought of Yu-Gi-Oh! VRAINS overall right now. Okay, so 120 episodes for a Yu-Gi-Oh! Series, a lot shorter than the majority of series we've had so far, and that didn't necessarily have to be a bad thing. You can tell a really concise story in that time frame, which could be better, because sometimes Yu-Gi-Oh! Series, they do meander. We have a lot of filler sometimes. However, this series, if I compare it to the last one that I did a full review of, which was Yu-Gi-Oh! Arc 5, Yu-Gi-Oh! Arc 5 was one that I was enjoying, and then I really liked it, and then it started getting a little bit worse towards the end, and I hated the final bit of the series, because I didn't like how they handled the main antagonist. I didn't like the way they set it up. I felt like a lot of, like, threads just got cut off. Like, for example, one of the Yuya clones, Yuri, he never sort of had a redemption bit because he was just evil throughout all the whole thing. And then at the very end, he's like a good guy. So you can see, like, this is where the story's just come to a grinding halt and I'm just like, we need to end, we need to end, we need to end. With this series, it's kind of happened again where this last season is, like, super short. So it feels like, oh, we've run out of money, we need to end because a new series is coming out. Let's just shorten all this. I got that, but it didn't feel too rushed. It was rushed, definitely. You can definitely see where they could have expanded on a bit more things. This villain could have been foreshadowed maybe a little bit better earlier. It was definitely foreshadowed that I would go some sort of evilly route, because I remember the first time he wanted to get data off someone, he literally turned into that, like, scary monster looking thing. It was like it had a big mouth and it bit someone's arm off to get the data. I think it was against Revolver or something, or one of the Knights of Hanoi. And that's sort of like good foreshadowing. This is something that Game of Thrones probably could have done a bit better. Some better foreshadowing of this event. But yeah, that was there. So I do think Ai's turn to, not necessarily evil, but sort of this antagonistic role definitely worked. So yeah, I think antagonists through Yu-Gi-Oh! VRAINS were its strongest point. Revolver was a good antagonist. Bowman was okay. The Light Ignis was okay as well. I don't think they were as good as I, but I thought they were still good. The side characters were okay. I do feel like sometimes we had a bit too many. Ghost Girl I liked the most. She was an active protagonist in this series, so she did well. Blood Shepherd, I think, kind of got just put in the story. Didn't really care too much about him. Zyzen was kind of there. He did stuff every now and then, but alright. Aoi could have had a bit of a better arc throughout the series, but it was okay. She kind of had like a best friend that was a part of the last incident that kind of got glossed over. That probably could have got delved into a little bit more. Revolver was great throughout. I thought everything with Revolver was fantastic. Soulburner I liked a lot, but he started to turn into the main character for a while as well, because I think, well, just before we get to who I think a little bit suffered in this series, Go Onizuka I didn't like. He went on a weird route throughout the series where he sort of turned evil in the middle because he had some sort of complex where he didn't want to be beaten by Yusaku, and then he did all this dark stuff where he was having like an AI infused in his brain, lost loads of weight because he was mentally taxing, and then he's fine at the end of the series. I don't know, I thought that was a bit weird, so I never really liked Go. Yusaku, though, was a main protagonist. He started off really interesting because he was this cold, not necessarily cold, but he was like this calculated loner kind of character, which probably resonates a lot with a couple people. But he kind of, I don't know, I don't feel like he was a very good protagonist. I don't know, it was a different protagonist. I just feel like there was something about him that wasn't protagonist worthy, if you get me. I never really felt like he changed too much over the course of the series, because I thought that was going to be like the main thing about it. It's about Yusaku coming out of his shell, making friends, doing this, which he did, but it was either so slow I never noticed, which would be more realistic, I guess, or it just only slightly happened. So, alright. My other little gripe with this series is actually the fact that I never felt like there was any threat, ever, because it all happened in the Yu-Gi-Oh! VRAINS world. It's like everything happened in the internet. Most of the time, the real world people didn't care. The only reason they knew about it is because, like, in what their equivalent to Times Square was, they just see, like, oh, this stuff is going on. They're like, oh, alright then, and they just carry on with their day. So yeah, that was the only problem with that. Whereas in things like Yu-Gi-Oh! GX, when you've literally got, like, the darkness, like, sucking people's souls into this void, that's like a real threat. You need to save people from that. But people having their internet destroyed, okay, it's quite a big annoyance, but I'm sure we'll all live. I guess the VRAINS is quite a big thing. It's where they do all the shopping, their work and things, so it would create, like, a societal crash. But that's my only little gripe with the series. But overall, if I had to give the Yu-Gi-Oh! VRAINS series a rating out of 10, let's do this properly, I would give Yu-Gi-Oh! VRAINS an 8.5 out of 10. I thought it was really good. Like, for example, Yu-Gi-Oh! 5, I would give a 7 out of 10. Why not? And I don't know the rest because this is too controversial if I keep going. But yeah, guys, that was my Yu-Gi-Oh! VRAINS review for 120 episodes. I think I did nearly every single episode with a review, so I hope you all enjoyed. If you have watched every single one of these reviews, then thank you very much for watching them. I will be back doing Yu-Gi-Oh! Reviews, of course, for the brand new series that comes out in 2020. But we're going to have to go a few months now without any Yu-Gi-Oh! Content. I think it comes out in 2020 anyway. That's what he said at the end of this episode, anyway. But guys, thank you all for watching. This was the final episode of Yu-Gi-Oh! VRAINS review done. Hope you all enjoyed. Leave your thoughts and feelings in the comment section below. And bye, everyone. Catch you later.